That's why I was glad they ran that guy out of Buckhead. Whoever the New Yorker was that moved
Bill
down
White?
that wanted Bill. Whoever the was. God bless his soul.
Wait, hold on. I gotta defend him because
I didn't say I wasn't defending him.
No.
I
I'm
just
saying
say
he's a dear friend. He actually helped me. I'm interviewing President Trump after you, and he helped me get
I'm
that
with
interview.
Bill for that. I just fuck with Bill for trying to fill Buckhead out.
Right.
Yeah, leave us the alone. Go figure that out in New York.
So wait. So let me ask you this though. But there were people in Buckhead that were afraid of the crime. There are many people in Buckhead
We
that
all
didn't
were afraid
want.
of the crime. We don't want. Let me tell you something. Black folks don't want.
I
White
know. I
folks
get
scared.
that. I get that.
Yeah, we don't. But
I get that.
Working class Atlanta don't want rich Atlanta scared. We
Right.
don't want y'all. We didn't know what the hell was going on.
Right.
The problem is though. The problem is also the solution. Atlanta never closed. A lot of the girls that danced at the Blue Flame in Magic City was happy because the governor never closed the club, right? So the nightlife stayed open. Now, crime happened. Crime happens, but you can't say, oh man, the Democratic mayor, and no, you got to say, well, we kept the state open.
Right.
And all these people came here because it wasn't Atlantans doing all the crime. It was coming here with their beef from Cleveland, from D.C., from L.A. I'm still open. I seen him. Where you seeing him at Lennox? I'm going to shoot that now.
Right.
Bill didn't have any idea of that, but Bill didn't church to see. He didn't call you and say, Mel, Shelley, I need to talk to Mike. Bill just tried to take 20% of the tax base out of Atlanta.
Right.
And I'm just saying that that's not the Atlanta way. The Atlanta way is to sit down and say, crime is up. Why is it up? And how do we fix it?
I get that. I think the idea was the vote. For me, I didn't care which way you went. I didn't live in Buckhead, right?
You're dumb if you don't care, though, Shelley.
No, I'm saying I didn't care. I don't
if
care.
If you live in Atlanta, you have to care.
No, but hold on. Let me finish. I didn't care which way people care. I didn't care what decisions people made. I just thought it was a good idea to have the vote. The vote.
I care.
So
you can't lose 20 cents out of every dollar and not care.
But if you lose 20%, if you lose 20 cents out of every dollar, their argument was in Buckhead was I'm not getting nearly as much for my 20 cents that I'm should be getting.
Past it.
And so, well, yeah.
Crime has dropped by 37% in Atlanta.
That's all they were asking for.
So ultimately, I'm glad more Buckheadians thought like Atlantans than thought like Buckhead.
Right? And there was only a few of them.
I don't think South Fulton should have pulled out of Atlanta.
Well, that was my next question.
Not a good idea. Not a good idea.
So is South Fulton not pulling out of city of Atlanta because the tax base and not as much money is gone?
South Fulton should have stayed in the city of Atlanta because it's easy to use the resources that we have as a part of Atlanta than not.
Right.
That's all. We don't need another black mayor of a small municipality versus having a qualified black mayor of a larger municipality that can keep money coming through all communities, including black communities. Because when the black community is doing economically better, the greater community is doing better.
But then the question becomes now, there was more of an outrage.
And that's not against South Fulton.
I get it. But there's more of an outrage of Buckhead leaving, obviously due to the money, the 20%, than it was of South Fulton.
No, there was an outrage. It's just that the people who were down there, God bless their souls, it was similar to the Buckhead thing. You had more legacy, in my opinion, you had more legacy people, residents in Buckhead who understood the Atlanta way. In the city of South Fulton, you had a lot of retirees who were from other places.
Retirees.
Yeah,
okay.
New people and retirees. People who retired from Chicago, retired from Detroit, and they moved here. And I just don't think they understood the importance of keeping the voter base in Atlanta, keeping the tax base in Atlanta. But they learned when they had to figure out get their own trash and stop hiring a private company. They learned. They learned when city of South Fulton Police, which is doing an amazing job, but I was scared for a minute, you know what I'm saying, in terms of what would happen. But I would say police and fire handled it well. Sanitation, I was quirky on, and some of the other services that was just like, let's see. But I would have kept South Fulton in Atlanta.
Let's go to, you talked about, we already talked about gentrification. We already talked about Atlanta City Council, Atlanta City Schools. The Atlanta City Council is very kind of right now. We got upcoming elections.
Yeah.
There's some infighting going on that I've never really seen like this since I've been in this city.
Yeah.
And it's not usually the infighting on the city council has been North Atlanta versus South Atlanta. Now I'm seeing, city council members fighting each other next to each other.
Oh, wow.
Natalie Hall is under assault. Khadijah's under assault. The Fulton County commissioners. I mean, it's just a lot of infighting. What are your thoughts on that?
I hope they get in the room, go to dinner, and start to figure stuff out, or they're going to lose their offices to their political opponents, and the city's going to become something that they may not have, or their constituency may not have wanted vision for. So I don't know all the infights. I don't know all the beefs. But what I do know is this city does better when we cooperate.
Right.
That's what I know. This city does much better. Even if you're talking about county commissioners, we tend to do better. I don't like the nasty campaign tactics that have come into play. Now, I'm not a fan of that because I think that, I'll just be frank, man, talking amongst good black folks and white folks. I've seen Barack Obama and George Bush's lackeys argue with each other on a stage and take the same private jet away. And you can't tell me that Democrat and Republicans who belong to the same family, the same race, the same class, can't figure out talking at a dinner table, disagreeing, but leaving with some understanding that what we want is still best for our community. Like that argument that I saw, that was a real argument I witnessed amongst one of the guys from Barack Chopin and one of the guys from Bush's. And after the argument, they shook hands, they settled that what they would agree on, what they wouldn't agree on, and somebody's plane didn't work. He said, just ride my plane with me.
Right.
The fact that our community is so polarized is based on the fact we think we're cheering for the Dallas Cowboys versus the Atlanta Falcons, and it's not. No matter what happens the day after the election day, that person is responsible to you as a part of the constituency. So my question, and what I saw my grandmother do, is how do I work with people that I might not agree with for what's agreeable for us all? That's all. You know, I think that Atlantans need to do a better job of getting back in MPU meetings, talking to one another, visiting other MPUs, talking to one another, and having public and private conversation that does not involve politics and whoever their lobbyists are.
So that being said, you're on The View.
Yeah, I was.
And I you handle it a lot better than I would have, but that's due to my politics versus yours. But at one point you had mentioned Kemp, and all you did was mention his name, and Sonny Hostin had kind of gone off, and you kind of were alluding to what you just said. So my next person I want to ask about Kemp, your thoughts, if you could expand on what you were trying to expand on The View.
I mean, as a governor, judging by his record, he's done some stuff. Man, I could flip over a rainbow and say wow for. He's done some other stuff I didn't agree with. I believe he has integrity. The things that he's spoke about with me, the things that he's turned me on to, that are not for my personal gain, but for the greater gain of my community, have made sense. The things we disagreed on, we disagreed agreeably. I think as a governor, when you live in a state that's been #1 in business for 10 years, that does not mean the state is perfect. That does not mean we're without homelessness. That does not mean we are without poverty. That does not mean we need another hospital closings. But for 10 years, if a state is good in business, that means jobs are coming. That means jobs are there. We've got 9,600 new jobs in this state. We have an electric vehicle corporation moving to the state. We have tons of Amazon. We have people hiring in the chicken factories in the north. We have people farming in the south. So I have to judge him on that work. Him and Nathan Deal prior to him, and our former mayor, Kasim Reed, who was even prior to Keisha. We have opportunity in Georgia that other southern states in particular, in other states past the south, don't have. So I can't say simply because I don't agree with your stance on gang enhancement. And I don't. I did not agree with his stance on gang enhancement.
You met with him.
But I tried. I called him. I said, Governor, I don't think this is a good bill. Here's how I'll tell you why. If we were charging people with prostitution and pandering, we wouldn't charge an 18-year-old girl with a gang enhancement because she's been trained to train a 13-year-old girl. We would look at it as human trafficking, which is very dear to Marty. I played to that. It's politically, as you know what to do. Right. And he gave me audience with his staff, which included a young brother who was like, I'm glad you're here, you're saying it. You can express it. I expressed it, laid it out, just lawyers and team. He still ended up signing the bill. Let him know I was disappointed that he didn't sign the bill. But since the bill is up for the prosecutor to pick up, the prosecutor does not have to use the gang enhancement. I say, I know I'll just be contacting a lot of prosecutors. He's like, so it's not like he left an out where the door is permanently closed. It just means now whoever the prosecutor is DeKalb, who's prosecutor Fulton County, Gwinnett, then I have to know that if there's a kid that deserves a shot, then me and people like Gary Davis from Next Level Boys Academy are going to have to push the line for him. But unfortunately, the governor signed an enhancement. That's a weapon the prosecutors can use. So now I have to petition the prosecutor. So it doesn't even leave a total out. It's just one of the things we disagreed on.
Right.
Now, something we agreed on. And I invested
That was my next question.
Yeah, something I agreed on and big. And I think that if you get this right, you don't have to ever use gang enhancement because ain't nobody going to be joining no gangs and we're going to work. I believe in the trades. I believe in the trades because I've heard the stories of students building Tuskegee. I've seen Washington High School who taught my teachers. My teachers not only knew how to teach, they knew how to lay floors, they knew how to reupholster furniture. And when we went to Washington, you had to learn it all. Like, for real? Yeah. When we first went to Douglas, they had talent centers, art talent center, mechanical, drafting, wood shop. You still, even in the 90s, you still had a little bit of that. That sense is gone, and we've lost a lot of boys in particular. When the governor reinstated the Hope Scholarship and let kids who are getting B's go to college for free, kids who are just would be considered average kids, but get an opportunity to go to the Kennesaw States, get a chance to go to some of the smaller colleges here that they may not have went to, that are state schools. He also signed in for the trades program. So my nephew now, who works at Land Rover up in Buckhead, was educated right there at the state school, right there at the trade school, right here in Atlanta. I wish we had the state schools in so me and his mom wouldn't have to pay.
Right. So because the trades, that has been one of my big issues with the Republican Party.
Yes.
Is pushing free trade school.
Yes.
For kids, but the trade schools, the problem is what I'm finding out, there's a trade school that has welding and
Yes.
electrical down, but it's run by the unions.
Yes.
And they're starving for
Yes.
kids.
Okay.
And so I want to ask you, because it exists,
Yes.
you know what I mean? And even for low cost or almost no cost,
Yeah.
it exists. How do we get our boys, especially our boys, to those trades? Because those guys down.
Well, how do we get more state funding for organizations that are doing it? As voters, what are we demanding our
State
money
funding.
go to? State funding.
State funding.
Yeah, I think that if there's money to prosecute in the state, there should be money to look out. Randy Beal over at and Christina over at Georgia Youth Bill. Georgia Youth Bill sounds like a government agency, but it's not. I believe that we should figure out a way to get government money to there. So instead of having graduating 50 kids, they could be graduating 500 kids.
Right.
They're right there at the IBEW building,
right
the
there.
International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and they're feeding kids into those programs. And those union members are there and helping. So I believe, I absolutely agree with you. And I believe if they're there, how do we get them there? Because if something's on the other side of that fence and I don't see it, you can tell me it's there all day.
Right.
But once you show me, once you say, all you got to do is go around and hit this code,
Right,
and then you
right.
go around. I believe that if the governor invited me to the Georgia Workforce Development Summit, and I didn't understand why he was inviting me, but I know every rapper wasn't getting invited. And then I got in the room and I was like, every rapper wasn't getting invited. No rappers got invited. I didn't see very many people so I was like, I'm here as a responsibility to be a representative for the people. And I sat there at that table with people from Home Depot, Chick-fil-A, Lockheed Martin, the people who run this state. And they say, we need more people working. We need more carpenters. We need more electricians. We need people that are building the infrastructure to the state. We need to bring more commerce here. And they want to start trade programs as young as middle school. And I think that's wise. So the question becomes, how do we partner the private and the public sector, which we've done very well in Atlanta. I got to say, we don't give Andy enough credit for that, and Maynard. A lot of the things that we've seen be billed to public spectacle that get called on other radio stations, it's draining taxpayers' money. Wasn't taxpayers' money at all. It was a pension fund's money out of California. And you put up some money to match that, but the pension fund, man, took a lot of the cost, and we don't, politicians don't take time to explain, and we don't always know. But I think that there's something in the public and private sector that can happen there in our state. I think that there's something that can happen to funnel more into those programs that are already doing the work.
I'm not against, and I'm not one of those that are, it's the taxpayer dollars. Because my argument against that has always been 90% of your tax dollars, you have no idea where it's going anyway. So at least you could see the kid going to school for free,
Absolutely.
and you can see him.
I agree.
I want to finally, not finally, but on the politics thing, and then I want to go to relationships, because I know your wife is very important. And the reason why I want to bring the relationships up is because I've always emulated. As I told you, like, oh man, I want what y'all have. So I want to talk about that, because there are people in our audience, people in my audience who want to hear that story.
We argue every day, though.
Yeah. That's what people in our audience need to know. Tim Andrews is here. He needs to know that. He needs to know that's normal, because we complain in the VIP section all the time. But I've implored you. I begged you. I've wanted to run your campaign to run for office.
One day.
Right. So I know that. I knew that was.
Chancellor Figueroa.
I knew that. I knew that was going to be the answer. But if you were to run, for any office, what do you think the office you would run for where you would do the most good?
Where I would do the most good, mayor or governor.
Mayor or those are two.
Those are the two.
Yeah, those are the two.
I mean, because if you're mayor of the city of Atlanta, you control one of the
Right.
one of the largest airports
Right.
and tax bases. So I think that you're not only good for Atlanta, you're good for Georgia.
Right.
And if you're a governor of Georgia, I think you're going to do what's good for Georgia, and that's kind of where my political ceiling. I'm interested in Atlanta, Macon, Columbus, Savannah. You know, I'm interested in growing new industry along the coast. I'm interested in South Georgia as we open up to things like marijuana becoming in West Georgia, becoming places where, you know, from seed to dispensary, things can be done here in Georgia. I'm interested in the business of Georgia.
So, because when we talked about this years ago, I guess I was shooting real low because I was talking city council.
Yeah.
So, I'm real embarrassed right now.
No, I thought city council years ago, but you
Right,
know,
yeah.
I mean,
You're
if you can
bigger
go,
now.
If you can go, yeah, if you won 3 Grammys,
You're 3
know.
Grammys. Say that again. You're 3 Grammys. You're 3 Grammys. So mayor and governor. So let's stay here because that was a shocker to me.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, and I talk to you all the time. That was surprisingly. I'm very happy about that. What is a time frame? If you had one, what would be the time
I have
frame?
no time soon. I got a 10-year run. They just gave me 3 Grammys. I got a 10-year run.
All right.
You know, I ain't even 50 yet. But I'll tell you this: I'd only want to go. You know, I'd only going to go one. You know, what you max out at 2 terms, and I'd just be done with politics for good. I just want to do my part for what this. You know, I remember, you know, what my grandmother, how she admired Joe Frank Harris. I remember how my grandfather admired Maynard Jackson. I'd like to do my part in my 4 to 8, and then just and leave it for the next to do. I think that it's kind of why state reps scare me. You shouldn't be able to hold an office so long.
Right.
That
they build a statue to you.
You know what I mean?
No, for real. I agree with you.
It gets to be.
Right.
How is that different from what from what the communists say? You know
Right.
what Noriega? No, what not Noriega? What did Castro say that Obama should have had 20 years to be president?
Right.
I'm just like, yeah, that proves he's un-American.
Right,
You know,
right.
won't trust nobody with a 20-year reign. But it's just interesting to me that more than who Killer Mike would run or what he would run for, people like you and Teslin Figueroa are genius. Teslin is to the opposite of your political slant, but she's just someone I think you should bring her on your show once or
I've been
twice a month.
trying.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
I'm gonna tell her you should. I think
No,
you guys
you
are
introduced us, right?
Yeah.
Look, I'll tell you a story really quickly. She got her show.
good. All that to say, you people
Need
should
to-
be talking about it, and your listeners should be running for office, and
Gotcha.
that's ultimately what I really.
Right.
I would like for the next mayors and governors to be coming out of the listenership of you versus the fraternity and sorority of politics.
I thank you. My listeners thank you. But if I'm going to run a campaign, I need to run a Killer Mike for governor campaign. So I could run Joe from Carrollton's campaign, but I would love to run 3 Grammy winner Killer Mike from gubernatorial race.